part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Chase Smith, founder and CEO of Press Play Podcast. You may have heard me on the Oranges Oranger Cleveland Browns podcast with Jeremy Powell, now wonderfully hosted by Holly Wetzel, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast with Sam Amico, or my own podcast, the Chase Smith Podcast. I wanted to take a few moments to talk to you about a brand new subscription-based podcast we're offering this football season, the Press Play Sports Podcast. This premium podcast feed will send all of the sports podcasts offered on the Press Play Podcast Network to one central feed. Yes, you can still follow and subscribe to all of our individual shows for free on every podcast platform. But if you wanted to consolidate your podcast feed and listen to them all in one location, the Press Play Sports Podcast is for you. I'm talking the Oranges and Oranger Browns podcast with Holly Wetzel and Jeremy Powell, Red Guy and Rhoda, Sable Brothers on the Baseline, Cavs on the Break, the Dennis Maniloff Show, the Ball Card Show, the Premium Fantasy Podcast, a Swing and a Tribe MLB podcast, and the Tim and Shipe Show, a college football podcast, all in one feed. All 9 of our sports shows curated into one single podcast feed. Out the door, you're looking at $5.36 a month after tax. That's $5.36, just about the cost of a drink at Starbucks. And this is only offered on Apple Podcasts. You can't get this anywhere else. It's an Apple Podcast exclusive. Just go to the search bar and search Press Play Sports. It'll come up and you can subscribe from there. We're excited to offer this consolidated, curated sports feed for you to enjoy. And as always, thank you so much for listening and your support.
And welcome to another edition of the Red-Guy and Rhoda podcast, brought to you by MGM Northfieldpark, the new title sponsor of the R&R podcast. And we couldn't be happier to be reuniting Michael Red-Guy with Brent Reitz and everybody over there at the MGM Northfieldpark, going back to our old days on the radio.
Yeah, thrilled to be back with Brent and all of the good folks at MGM Northfield. And it's going to be a fun ride for all of us. And I know things are going to be very, very exciting at MGM Northfield and with our podcast too, Kenny.
That's right. Catch the excitement of live harness racing every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday evening. Post time is 6 p.m. at MGM Northfieldpark. And we'll tell you about some of the special things they've got going on a little bit later on in this podcast. A shout out to our producer extraordinaire, Mr. Podcatosphere. That's right, Dave Emmert, making sure we're out there for you to listen to this on a weekly basis. So thank you, David, for all that you do. Michael Red-Guy, the Brownies, we talked about it after the game on Sunday. They even their record at 1-1. Well, guess what? Every team in the AFC North now is 1-1. So the Browns technically are tied for first place with the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Cincinnati Bengals after 2 weeks of the season. What do you think?
Yeah, how about that? And what a wild fourth quarter finish it was for Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens the other night. As they were, they looked like, so the whole game they were down 7, 10, 13, and then Lamar Jackson found a way to get that offense rolling. And Kenny, I think they've got 15 players on their two deep that were not playing the other night. They've just beset with injuries. So, that's a big win. I'll be honest. I didn't expect them to beat Kansas City. I know it was in Baltimore, but and the way they did it, coming back to win it, that certainly showed that they're a football team that's going to be around probably. We thought they'd be, 11, 12 win team, and that's probably what they're going to be.
Yeah, I expected Kansas City to win. And when they were up by 11 I turned it off, didn't watch. Okay, game over. That's it. They beat them last year, 34-20. They're going to do it again. And then kudos to Lamar Jackson. But then again, the fumble at the end of the game by Leclerc, the running back. They were driving for either a game-winning touchdown or a game-winning field goal. He coughs it up.
That's right.
And that's the ball game. So you can't blame that one on Patty Mahomes. He had them in position to at least attempt what you would have thought would have been a fairly long field goal, but they coughed it up, or he might have got him in the end zone had they not fumbled. So Kansas City still the team, I think, to beat in the AFC, along with Buffalo, those two. But like you said, Baltimore, Cleveland, right in the mix as well, Reg.
Yeah, and there's no question about that. And, it's funny you say, you can't blame that. There isn't a whole lot you can blame on Patty Mahomes as far when things don't go the way that Andy Reid and his KC Chiefs want. I mean, he just extraordinary with his skills, and and that's why for the Browns to be able to have an opportunity to win the AFC this year, they had it last year, and of course, that was round number one with Mahomes and KC, and maybe who knows, maybe we'll come down to that again, Kenny. And I agree with you. I do think the Buffalo Bills are going to have a say-so in that, and then maybe even the Baltimore Ravens. We'll see how it plays out, but I believe that those four are the top in the American Football Conference.
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills with a nice bounce-back win as they blanked Miami after getting beat at home by Pittsburgh. And the Steelers, Reg, I told you, man, that offense, they struggled against Buffalo. They struggled against the Raiders and lost at home. TJ Watt goes out immediately. David Carr goes long. Al Davis, screaming from the heavens, throw it deep, baby. Yeah. And they did, and they beat the Steelers, and Ben's got an injured pec. A couple of other guys are dinged up already for that team. Ben won't make, I'm telling you, that O-line is so bad. They're the dumbest team in the NFL if they thought all they had to do was change the O coordinator and draft the number one running back and the running game would be fine. Well, they're finding out it's the offensive line that is the problem, as Ben was hit 10 times, sacked twice, and already has some sort of injury heading into week number 3. So that's why I didn't even consider them as a threat in the AFC North. And I've got them finishing somewhere around 7-10, along with the Cincinnati Bengals. That's why I think it's a 2-team race between the Ravens and the Brownies.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and Ben, I'll agree with you on that. Ben, it's going to be difficult for him to get through the year if he's going to take, those kind of shots and that kind of abuse. And, I'm one that always, it's almost like, that damn proverbial dragon, though. I mean, you got to put about 15 dozen swords in the Pittsburgh Steelers to kill them off historically. So, I know that you get the insights on them, and I understand with what is going on with their offensive line. So, and again, if that's all the case, then it behooves the Browns, and even Buffalo and, Kansas City, Baltimore to, put them away and do it fairly early so they're not hanging around in December and early January.
So that's the AFC North after 2 weeks. So let's dive further into the Browns, Michael. And what are you most thrilled with? And what is your biggest concern after 2 weeks with the Cleveland Browns? And before you answer, let's just pass along to everybody out there, if they haven't heard, Jarvis Landry officially placed on IR. That means he has to miss 3 games. So he'll be out starting this Sunday against Chicago, 2 more games at least after that. And so he's out. We don't know if OBJ will be back this week. The rumor is they may activate him, but I'm hoping they don't, Reg, if he's not ready to go. If he's not 100%, just because Jarvis is hurt, I hope they don't rush him back. But if he is ready to go, then obviously you need him. So just that information, that's official today. Your thoughts, the good so far, and your biggest concern?
Well, I'm with you. I would hope that they would not. I don't think there's any need for that, because we know we spent half the show discussing it the other night. I mean, the Browns are going to we said we want to see Nick Chubb get more touches, but I think the Browns you're going to start seeing on Sunday against the Chicago Bears that we're going to ride this offensive line and Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt much more frequently than they did in the win the other day. So, most of the targets were to the tight ends, as we talked about as well the other night, and I don't expect that to change. But, if Beckham does come back, I don't think it's going to be something, Kenny, where he's playing 3/4 of the offensive snaps anyway. Right. So for me, though, again, now, the trio of Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashard Higgins got out of mothballs the other day, and the young rookie who, of course, cost Baker the interception by just stopping his route, just discontinuing the route, and Anthony Schwartz. Those 3, I think, are going to have to, can he start to understand what kind of opportunity they've got a little bit here now? And again, that's not to say that any of them need to go out and make 8 catches for 115 and 2 touchdowns. That's not what we're talking about here. That's not how the Browns operate anyway. But they have opportunity now to get involved in this offensive pass game and to earn the confidence of Baker Mayfield in doing so. So I hope those 3 young men, do that. You try to watch, Kenny, and when you're just watching it off TV, I'm a big one, looking at receivers and are they completing their routes? Are they running their routes as it's supposed to be at the yardage it's supposed to be? If a route's supposed to be 14 yards on a square in, well, then damn it, it's got to be. You can't round it off at 11 or like Anthony Schwartz did, just stop at 17 and let the ball fly over his head and get picked. You're not gonna earn the confidence of Baker Mayfield by doing that. But those 3 in particular have opportunity, Kenny, and I hope these young men take advantage of it.
Yeah, DPJ Hollywood, may the Schwartz be with you. And how about this one for the rookie out of UCLA? You ready? I'm going to lay this nickname on you already for after that spectacular 33-yard screen pass touchdown. How about the Matrix Felton? The Matrix, man. Dude,
I see where you're going there. Yeah.
Twisting and turning and spinning. He looked like the Matrix, took it to the house. He's going to be lined up in the slot. I think if OBJ and, Landry are both out, it's going to be those 4 and then the 3 tight ends with Njoku, Hooper, and Bryant. So that's the passing game, but I'm with you. Pound, 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 pound. Give me 18 to 22 touches for Nick Chubb. Give me 10 to 12 more for the Kareem Hunt and that combination. That's what I want to see, and play action off of that and see what you can get in the passing game there. So maybe you get OBJ back or you get both of those guys back.
No question. I really believe we will see that. I'd like to see 30 touches for those 2 guys.
Okay.
And you just said it. There's 18 and you said 18 to 12. Well, there you go. There's my 30. So I'll take that. We'll mark it down right now. But I do think, too, that Kevin Stefanski and Alex Van Pelt, this week in the meeting rooms, too, with the offensive line, are basically going to say, okay, fellas, this is you. This is all about you now. I've seen Chicago, Kenny, and, defense, Khalil Mack, and decent, but certainly not a defense that the Browns can't, I don't think, impose their will on. Right. And so I'm looking for that offensive line to be the cornerstone of that and do that on Sunday and get those 30 touches for Chubb and Hunt and maybe even some Demetric Felton. He's your hybrid guy, and maybe you line him up a little bit too. Maybe he gets a couple of touches as a traditional running back behind Chubb and Hunt. So I think it's there for the taking, and I hope that's the Browns' approach, and I really think it will be.
That's the bread and butter of this team. That's their identity, the O-line, the running game, and that's been very good through the first 2 games. They've averaged 30 points a game on offense. The running game has been the key with multiple rushing touchdowns in both games. But, Michael, defensively, touched a little bit on this in the post-game show the other day, but I want to dive more into it after watching some game film, if you will. It looks like Joe Woods' goal is to mirror the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the New York Giants, as well as the Philadelphia Eagles, when all 3 of those teams ended up winning Super Bowls and beating KC and Tom Brady twice. And that is rush 4, get to the quarterback with 4, and drop 7. Now, if you have the 4 rushers, you can do that. If you don't, then it becomes a problem, and the quarterback sits back there like Tyrod Taylor did the other day when he was playing, right? And is able to pick you apart to the tune of 10 of 11, 100-plus yards in that first half before he went out with an injury. So my question to you is, if that is the goal, how many more games does Joe Woods try this method before he says, all right, we don't have maybe as deep of a defensive line as we thought we did. We need to start bringing some pressure from the backers, the safeties, the corners, and instead of 4, we're going to bring 5 or 6.
I think just this one. I got to start seeing some heat on, whether it's Andy Dalton or whether it's going to be the Ohio State Buckeye rook Justin Fields. You got and Kenny heat too, and specifically heat in the interior.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean you move Garrett, you'll move Garrett. You move defensive linemen move all over the D line now. It's not just where Myles Garrett is always going to be on an edge rush, nor on the other side of that the Jadeveon Clowney either.
Right.
But again, Tack McKinley, you got to start getting some heat. You got to start getting some heat on these quarterbacks, and if you can kind of mix it up and have some of that pressure come from the interior, the A gaps, like centers, guards on that other on the offensive line. I think that's something the Browns are looking for today, Sunday. So again, they don't want to turn into a heavy blitz team. They don't feel that they really have to. But to answer your question, I'm not going much further than this Sunday.
All right.
Because the Chicago Bears are okay offensive line. Nothing that is one of the tops in the NFL. And so, to me, let's start seeing it this week, because if not, then you're going to have to start doing some things with other personnel where you may have to start mixing in some blitzes here and there. I'd prefer not to see it, but that means you got to get home too with your down 4 to not see it.
I would throw blitzes this week at Justin Fields, and here's why. I wouldn't wait. I'd bring it this week. If it's if he is starting, it's his first start, Reg, and was phenomenal at the Ohio State, arguably the best quarterback Ohio State has had. Okay. With his running ability and what he put up numbers-wise throwing the football. But there's one thing he does that is a hindrance to himself and his team. He holds the ball too long. He's always looking to make that play because, he got dinged up there and he didn't want to run as much, only when he had to. Now, will he have that same approach Sunday? Don't know. But if he's one of those guys that holds it too long, then guess what? I want to confuse the hell out of him. At times, I want to throw the kitchen sink, the microwave, the garbage disposal, the refrigerator, whatever I can at him to get him off his game and hope that he will try and hold it too long. And therefore, you'll get that sack, that strip sack and fumble recovery, maybe a scoop and score defensively against Justin Fields. So I think they'll start out, showing what they show on film, the 4, just to maybe get him in that comfort zone, thinking that's all they're going to do. And then if I'm Joe Woods, I'm bringing Grant Delpit. I'm bringing Mac Wilson or Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, whoever's in there, right, at linebacker and safety. I'm bringing those guys to try and confuse him and take him out of his comfort zone if he indeed is starting. So I get they want to do it with 4, and they're loyal to a fault, coaches, at times, right? They go too long before they make a change. Hopefully, if they start that way and it's not working, then boom, flip the switch, bring the kitchen sink and throw it at Justin Fields and get him disrupted and hopefully create some interceptions, sacks, or like I said, a fumble, scoop and score defensively. So Browns are 7.5-point favorites Sunday at home. This is a must win, Reg. And I know it's only game 3. What are you talking about, idiot Rhoda? It's not a must. Well, yes, it is. This is a team you should beat. You are at home. To me, this is a must-win game against the Chicago Bears, and I expect them to win it. I don't know if it's by 7.5. Well, it can't be, but 7 or whatever. But to me, they're going to win. I'm predicting a victory for the Browns in the 10-point area, so I think they'll cover this week at home against the Bears.
I hear you talking, partner. I know exactly what you're saying, and I know exactly what you mean by a must-win, because I'll just put it this way as we go to break. You have something go terribly wrong here, and this football team's 1-2 with a home loss to the Chicago Bears. I'm telling you, right. You don't want that. You don't want to go down that that avenue right now. So must win. Got to win this football game. Yes.
We mentioned MGM Northfieldpark, our new title sponsor here on the R&R podcast. And check this out. Weekly Sunday contest featuring Belmont Park. Top prize is $500 each week. Registration begins at 11 a.m. Go to Northfield Park. Watch, the ponies, the horses, win $500. Go take that, bet on the Browns, you double your fun, double your money, and have a great time. So we love that Northfield Park is on board with us, and you can follow them on Twitter and on Instagram to get all of the latest happenings at MGM Northfield Park. On Twitter, their handle is NFLD Park. So NFLD Park on Twitter, and on Instagram, or as IG, the kids call it IG. On IG, it's at Northfield Park on Instagram. So follow them on a daily basis so you know exactly what's happening there at Northfield Park. What's happening in college football? A lot. Is Bama still the ones on the top of the mountain looking down at everybody else? Can anybody climb that mountain and get close? Florida almost did. Was that the closest that we're going to see? Anybody get to Bama? And what about the Buckeyes? Where do they stack up? When we return to the R&R podcast brought to you by MGM Northfield, Regai and Rhoda are going to break it down for you right here.
Hey everyone, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. Backed by popular demand, I'm excited to let you know that new episodes of the Hyman Podcast will drop every other Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're going to continue the conversations we started last season and keep having those hard conversations. There is so much in store for you this season, and I'm excited to share it with you. Subscribe today so you don't miss a single moment. The Hyman Podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. Catch the excitement of live harness racing every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday evening with a 6 p.m. post time. Wager and win daily on top thoroughbred and harness tracks from around the world with action starting around noon. Plus, enter to play the free handicapping contest every Sunday featuring Belmont Park for a chance to win cash. Top prize is $500. Registration begins at 11 a.m. Free admission and free parking every day at Northfield Park.
Hey everyone, I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Jeremy Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need each week to get you ready for kickoff and beyond.
Don't miss our breakdowns of each week's matchups, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we all know, Holly, dogs got to eat.
That's right, Jeremy. Hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome back to the Regai and Rhoda podcast brought to you by MGM Northfield Park. Hey, the Little Brown Jug is Thursday, September 23rd, simulcast from the historic Delaware County Fair. The Little Brown Jug is regarded as one of the jewels in the Triple Crown of harness racing. It is the premier pacing classic for 3-year-olds. Post time is 11 a.m. Enter for a free $5 match play from 1 to 2 p.m. at Northfield Park. All right, Michael Regai, let's dive into some college football.
Yeah.
And this past week, what do you know? Alabama had to knock down a 2-point conversion in the swamp at Florida to hold off the Gators and get the win. And so is there a chance that maybe Bama isn't as dominating this year as they've been in recent years?
Want to see a couple more football games before I go there, Kenny. However, they were up 21-3. They got off to a terrific start. And we know, listen, Florida's a good football team. Now, I'm not saying that they're one of the going to wind up one of the top 5 in the country, but, you know, they're top 12, top 15 football team in the country. So, you know, Alabama wasn't getting in a tight one with, a little sister of the poor. That having been said, though, I think we got to see defensively. Right now, they don't look to be, quite as dominant on the defensive side of the ball. And Nick Saban was discussing that, after the win. So we'll see how that grows. But they're the best program in college football. I don't know how you question that. And so we'll see if they can. In the next 3 months, turn that into yet another national championship.
When I look at Alabama, Reg, I look at them and what do you know, man? We've mentioned this before. I look at them as that 20-year run the Patriots had, right?
Yeah.
And what do you know? It was Belichick and Saban in Cleveland, And then, of course, the Browns left town, and it was all blown up, allowing Belichick to go become the greatest coach ever at New England, and Saban eventually becoming the greatest coach at Alabama. And between the two, 12 titles between the two of them, I think, as coaches, head coaches. So I look
Nick's
at
got one. Yeah, doesn't Nick have 6?
Yeah, he's got 6. Bill's got 6 as a head coach.
That's right. 6. You're right. 6 as a head coach. So 12.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
And then 2 more as the D coordinator under Go Shop
Bill
for
Parcells.
the Groceries Parcells, right? So they're the 2 greatest coaches of my lifetime, I think.
Sure.
When you look at what they've been able to accomplish. And Nick's done it at 2 different programs, which is even more impressive, just like Brady with 2 different NFL teams. So I look at Bama still. They don't rebuild. Ohio State, Michael, we'll get to this. They're rebuilding this year, okay? The Buckeyes are in a full rebuild mode. After 3 games, and I was there this past Saturday, I watched them in person. They're in a rebuild mode. Alabama just reloads. Yeah, the Buckeyes lost 10 players to the draft. They lost 7 more in free agency, 17 guys that played or were starters for them, and they're feeling the effects this year. Alabama lost a ton as well. First rounders everywhere, and they're still the team to beat. And yeah, it was close, but they found a way to win. And they always seem to find a way to win as they're winning basically a championship every other year under the leadership of Nick Saban. So for me, in order to be the man, you got to beat the man, as my buddy Ric Flair used to say, right? And now, I don't think there's anybody that's going to beat Alabama. The only team I think that beats Alabama, Michael, is Alabama themselves. If they stub their toe, if they have one of those turnover games and somebody can take advantage of it, that's the only way I think Alabama loses.
That's what I was alluding to a moment ago. So I'm in agreement with you on that. And again, to me, they are the most complete, physically imposing, and with the best talent in college football. They are usually 1, 2, or 3 every year, and whom they recruit. They get every 5-star they want, and then they get them on the football field. And Nick Saban's a demanding guy now, as you know. Not just if you don't have your priorities right, and you don't have yourself, looking to do it Saban's way, you won't last too long, because he doesn't play around with that mess. So, I'm with you on that. I mean, you got to have them and they are, the odds-on favorite to win another national championship. And if they don't, it will probably be because of, as Saban likes to say, we're not going to be people that self-destruct here. So, we'll see how that plays out.
As far as the Buckeyes go, Michael, they were preseason number 3. And after going on the road to beat Minnesota, even though they were down at halftime, I came away thinking, all right, that was impressive. On the road, first game, redshirt freshman quarterback, had never thrown a pass, and they found a way to win on the road, starting the season off inside the Big Ten at Minnesota, as they were rowing the boat up there with PJ Fleck and company with the Golden Gophers. And I'm like, okay, maybe that 3 ranking is legit. And then I remembered myself thinking before the season started, boy, that's a tough 1-2 punch out of the gate at Minnesota. And then you're playing Oregon at home, who for them, that's a make or break their season game, right? Yeah. And I was concerned because of the inexperience of CJ Stroud, who ended up winning the job. And sure enough, Oregon goes into Ohio State, beats them, outplayed them, out-physicaled them, out-coached them, out-everything them, deserved the win. They're one of the top 3 teams in the country right now. And the Buckeyes were reeling from that loss. What would they do in week 3 at home against Tulsa, who was in their conference championship game last year, even though they were 0-2 coming in? And so Tulsa comes in there after seeing what Oregon did. I'm not afraid of Ohio State's defense. They're changing their defensive coordinator. They don't know who's calling plays. This is a down year for the Buckeyes. And I'll tell you what, 18-play drive on it was either their first or second drive of the game for Tulsa. And I'm shocked. They had it 4th and 2. I'd have went for it and went for the 7. They kicked the field goal, but still they showed me that Ohio State's defense is a sieve. It is a major problem regardless of who the coordinator is. And I think, I don't want to call it a come to Jesus moment with Ryan Day after the game against Tulsa, but I think he finally realized that, you know what? I've given my juniors and seniors on that defensive side of the ball 3 games to show me that they deserve to stay in the starting lineup or getting minutes, Michael. And I'm sorry, but 505 yards against Tulsa, and I changed the defensive coordinator. That ain't getting it done. So I expect major changes with a lot of the redshirt freshmen, true freshmen, and sophomores to start playing. And I think the Buckeyes, some people aren't going to like this, I think they're building for next year and beyond. I don't think they have a chance at winning the national championship this year with the quarterback room they have and that defense that they have.
Couple of things. Obviously, there's got to be personnel changes on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obvious. And whether or not, as you suggest, Ryan Day is going to allow guys, whether a true freshman, a redshirt freshman, a COVID freshman, regardless of how they're, I think a lot of these young fellows are going to get a chance to show that the reason they were recruited and thought of so highly, they get on the football field. The other thing, though, Kenny, and I tweeted this out last week, and I kind of knew what was going to happen at the first sign of trouble. I think not only Ohio State fans, but the college football world is finding out just what an elite college quarterback for the Buckeyes, Justin Fields, was the last couple of years.
Yep.
Because listen, and it's not like Ohio State played excellent defense last year. True. I mean, they gave up almost 26 points a game, the highest amount given up in Ohio State football history per game.
Yep.
But what would Justin Fields would overcome the defensive shortcomings. If he had to get into a 42-37 win, he would.
Right.
And until they played Alabama, we've already discussed that. But so I think, and you got to look at that. And in a way, I know there's going to be a lot of pressure on young C.J. Stroud because he's going to be but that's what sports is. Yep, you're going to get compared to Justin Fields, one of the top college quarterbacks that we've had over the course of the last many years. But Kenny, I think it is showing just how elite Fields was, and folks, C.J. Stroud isn't going to be that this year. He may never be that, but I damn well guarantee you he's not going to get to anywhere near that level this year.
Right. So
you're going to find now, we saw Travion Henderson, who probably was the top recruited running back in college football this, during coming out of high school. And he had a tremendous performance the other day. And maybe Ohio State's going to have to kind of take the Browns' offensive philosophy, Kenny. Well, right. You know what? Stroud has problems with accuracy, especially, Ken, when he, gets out of the pocket and starts to try to, starts looking around. Again, he's an 18-year-old kid. You got to expect it. He hasn't been in this type of situation before. It's going to take time. Maybe the run game is going to be the thing that starts to really be the thing, the bottom line way that this offense is going to have to get it done.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll add in, and it came out today, and I had my suspicions after seeing him in person miss horribly numerous times in the first half on Saturday against Tulsa and in the first 2 games. I thought he was dinged up. Okay. He just from covering football all these years, when you're throwing high and wide, you're not following through. Something wrong with your arm, your shoulder, and sure enough, they wouldn't specify what it was, but some type of shoulder or arm injury. He's not 100%. So I think this week against Akron, and they're 50-point favorites against Akron, you're going to see him start probably, but then you're going to see Kyle McCord, a true freshman, Jack Miller, a redshirt freshman, and maybe even the $1.4 million kid, Quinn Ewers,
the high school senior, the current high school senior.
Should be a high school senior. Yeah, I think you'll see all 4 of those quarterbacks against Akron. If you don't, that makes my belief, my opinion, that this team isn't very good, even more so a fact if they're not blowing away Akron and allowing all 4 of those quarterbacks to play in the game at the shoe under the lights, 7:30 against the Akron Zips. So I've got 4 games, Michael Regai, that are losable games for the Buckeyes. At Indiana coming up October 23rd. Michael Penix Jr. did a number on him last year, right?
Okay, I'm not going to go with you there. Indiana, I think, is showing you that last year was a little bit fluky, but go ahead.
Well, I thought they should have beat
it.
Cincinnati and Luke Fickell this past week, and maybe Cincinnati's the best team in Ohio this year, and it's not the Buckeyes.
Now, that could very well be.
Right, so we'll see. Yeah. But I still think because that's on the road at Indiana, that's a losable game. Penn State at home. That defense,
very much so.
That secondary, very good.
That was wild the other night. Them and Auburn. That was a hell of an atmosphere. It was great.
Yeah, phenomenal game. Michigan State's better this year. Now that's a home game, so that helps. But still, Michigan State.
Former Buckeye assistant Mel Tucker too. Yep. So he'd be all amped up to win that one. Yeah.
And might this be the year that Jim Harbaugh finally gets his first win as the Michigan head coach over the Buckeyes? They've got that game in, as I like to call it, the outhouse in Ann Arbor. So there's 4 games right there, Michael. I expect them to lose at least one of those 4 games, if not 2. Like I said, I think this is a rebuilding year for the Buckeyes. And I'm okay with it from this standpoint. If indeed they're going to play all these young kids, all right, if they looked at this and they said, all right, this is the time, we don't have a shot internally where they're talking about it, we don't have a shot at winning the title, then I'm going to play sophomore Ronnie Hickman at safety, linebacker Cody Simon, the sophomore at linebacker on a regular basis, cornerback Denzel Burke, the freshman, linebacker Tommy Eichenberg, Cleveland St. Ignatius, sophomore, defensive tackle Tyleek Williams, freshman on the D-line, along with JT Tuamaloau, a true freshman, and another true freshman, Jack Sawyer, Cameron Martinez, a defensive back, a freshman, along with Jackson Smith in Jigba, Marvin Harrison Jr., Travion Henderson, and C.J. Stroud. So I'm all right if that's the route they go and get these kids 4 and 5 stars experience. So next year and the year beyond, they're vying for a national championship. I'll take a 1-down year for the Buckeyes if it benefits them in the long run.
Well, they should start all that this week. They have the opportunity against Akron, playing all those young men. You had a chance and getting them, in second, third quarter reps and not just, fourth quarter for the last 2 series of downs. But I get it. And the teams you mentioned, Kenny, were all the ones in the Big Ten East. That's on Ohio State's schedule, of course. Iowa and Wisconsin. I think, now Wisconsin, again, we got to see. This will be interesting Saturday. They're playing Notre Dame in Chicago. So we'll see how that plays out. But, Kirk Ferentz in Iowa, man, they got a damn strong defense, and they love to run the football. So, again, not just the Big Ten East, but I think you got a couple of other teams in the Big Ten that, could potentially, put an end to Ohio State's run of winning the Big Ten championship. Yeah,
I'm with you 100% on that. Let's do this. Hey, Dave, we're going to get one other final break in because I don't want to leave today's podcast, Michael Regai, without getting your input on MACtion. MACtion. The Mid-American Conference is Akron's going to Ohio State to get a nice payday. But who's the team to beat in the MAC as we talk college football really for the first time here on the Regai and Road, a podcast brought to you by MGM Northfieldpark. We'll come back and we'll do MACtion right after this.
Hi, this is Maria Gincola with Mindful MMJ Ohio. Did you know that medical marijuana has been legal in Ohio since 2016? If you have one of 25 qualifying medical conditions, you can obtain your medical marijuana card today. The most common conditions are chronic pain, including migraines and back or joint pain, PTSD, fibromyalgia, spinal cord disease or injury, and cancer. If you or someone you know is interested in learning more or to find out if you qualify, visit mindfulmmjohio.com and fill out the short pre-qualification form. The process of finding a physician, filling out paperwork, obtaining medical records, and scheduling an appointment seems like it would be a daunting process for most. But, lucky for you, Mindful MMJ Ohio will help you every step of the way to make the process quick and easy. In most cases, we can approve a qualified patient within 24 hours. And the visit is virtual, so you don't even have to leave home. So what are you waiting for? Visit mindfulmmjohio.com today. That's mindfulmmjohio.com. Let us help you be more mindful of your health and find a natural way to find relief from your symptoms.
For the Dennis Maniloff Show, I'll tap into my 40-plus years of following Cleveland sports and 30-plus years of writing and talking about them, so as to bring you informed opinions and analysis of your favorite players and teams. I also will monitor the national sports scene and, when warranted, step out of the toy department and into the real world. And I'll always be on the lookout for special guests. By all means, join us.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome back to the Regai and Rhoda podcast, brought to you by MGM Northfieldpark. And Michael Regai, before we get out of here, give me your input. You're Mr. Mac. You've been doing it. How many years now have you been calling Mac football and basketball?
Yeah, well, 86, 87 was my first year.
All right.
So, just do the math. Okay. But,
right.
Kenny, they in the non-conference, all the top teams, pretty much everybody's 1-2
right.
in MAC right now, but in the East, I like Sean Lewis and his Kent State Golden Flashes. They are everybody starts MAC play this coming up Saturday, the final Saturday in September. So I like Kent State. And in the MAC West, Toledo's lost 2 in a row now. I was surprised they lost to Colorado State at home. That's usually the one that the Rockets win. But I like Toledo and either Toledo or Western Michigan, although, Kenny, today Western Michigan's head coach, Tim Lester, came down with COVID, so he's going to miss this week.
Okay.
And we'll see how that affects the Broncos. But one of the top quarterbacks in the country, in Caleb Ellaby. So I'm going to go Kent State in the East, and I'm going to go either Toledo or Western Michigan in the West.
All right, so Akron goes into Ohio State this week,
right.
Michael.
Yep.
And we all know why they took this game. It's a big payday, over $1 million they're going to get.
1.5, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's going to go a long way with the Zips program and everything, and I get it. But they're a 50-point underdog going in, to this game. So besides the money, what is Tom Arth hoping to achieve going to Columbus to play the Buckeyes? And it's, for whatever reason, I don't know, a 7:30 national under the light spotlight game. I don't get that. But what are they?
What a deal for the Akron Zips.
Yeah.
Real simple, Kenny. If I'm Tom Arth, I want to see my guys compete. I want to see them not cower. I'm not expecting to win it, but there's a big difference, and you know that. I want to see them line up and play 4 quarters, and you're going to get a lot of probably. Who knows? I think they can travel 65 on the road. I guarantee almost every one of them get opportunity. So that's what I'm looking for. I want to use this. The scoreboard's not going to say so at the end, but I want to improve as a team in this football game by playing an opponent who, is one of the, we'll just say right now where they're ranked, one of the top 10 teams in the country. That's right. What I'm looking for, and then use that to go into MAC play and to be able to win some football games this year. And I think they can do that regardless of what the final score says. But it's got to be the right approach. They've got to have that type of commitment. And if I'm Tom Arth, I'm going to demand that this week from my football team.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. I hope they come out of it healthy because you want to be healthy going into your conference play.
Right.
That's the key. You want to have a chance to win your division and your conference championship, and you play a game like this, some key guys get banged up, that'll derail the whole season potentially.
Yeah, right.
So I hope they get their payday. That's great, but I hope they stay healthy and at least a lot of those kids can say they played at the shoe in Columbus. And I'm sure there's a few of them who feel like they were shorted and Ohio State didn't recruit them to have a chip on their shoulder. So a chance maybe to show Ryan Day, you should have, recruited me instead. I'm here at Akron doing my thing for Tom Arts. So best of luck to the Zips and all the teams in the Mid-American Conference. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Reg Eye and Rhoda podcast. And once again, welcome aboard to MGM Northfield Park. And don't forget, the Little Brown Jug is this Thursday, September 23rd, simulcast from the historic Delaware County Fair. The Little Brown Jug is regarded as one of the jewels in the Triple Crown of harness racing. It is the premier pacing classic for 3-year-olds. Post time is 11 a.m. Enter for a free $5 match play from 1 to 2 p.m. at Northfield Park. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. All right, Reg, next time we do this, we'll be going post-game style with the Browns win over the Chicago Bears. You feel good about a win for the Brownies this week?
Yeah, I do. And again, I hope that that's the sweet elixir by that offensive line and Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt really getting dialed up on Sunday, Kenny, and just taking the game over.
All right, Reg, we'll talk to you after the Brownies and the Bears. Everybody out there, thanks for tuning in to the Reg Eye and Rhoda podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Until next time, enjoy your football games, folks.